What's going on, guys? Sticks here with the Token Minorities, bringing you the draft recap for, what is this, like Season 2? I guess I could check my graphics, but I mean, who has time for that? I am far too lazy. But Season 2 of, I believe it's Season 2 of the APA Academy. I know it's the APA Academy, I'm pretty sure it's Season 2. And basically, this is going to be, sorry, I left my elbow on the table. This is going to be my second Wi-Fi league in the entirety of my draft career, and the first one since the UBL, although to be fair, considering it's my second league, it's not too far-fetched to say that it's the first one. So, I don't know. You guys know what's going on. This is my second Wi-Fi league. And you might also notice that I am doing more APA stuff, so that's hopefully indicative of more to come in the future. But basically, this was an Ubers League, and I had never done an Ubers League before, and I was talking to Panther, and I was like, you know what, why the heck not? Let's do this, let's just see what happens. I wanted to have some fun, wanted to try another Wi-Fi League. I know that I said that about the UBL, and then I absolutely hated Wi-Fi, but I'm currently in that phase of, I believe it's denial about the Wi-Fi leagues, like to where I wanted to do it, I did it, I didn't like Wi-Fi mostly because of the HP bars. I don't like how it's more of a, basically more aesthetic and less like information immediately granted to you. So it's just kind of one of those things that I feel overall it's less competitive, but I'm at that stage where it's like, you know what, that seems kind of fun, I want to try it again, and I will inevitably go into remorse around, like, I'll say week 3. You know what? No, I'll be optimistic. I'm going to say I'm not going to go into remorse until week 4. But either way, this is going to be my first Ubers League, and it actually is going to be really, really interesting because going into this draft, I knew that no matter what draft position I had, I wanted to draft a Trick Room team. I had a ton of fun using that in BNR. I've been trying to replicate it ever since. I drafted a Trick Room team in March Madness, but then I dropped because Jolt didn't tell me that he wasn't doing it. Basically, we had a whole thing. Jolt and I talked about it. We were both going to do it considering that we just wanted to go all out in one tournament. Then he didn't, and then I lost motivation, blah, 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 blah. Basically, drafted a Trick Room team, didn't use it. I now am set. I am going to draft a Trick Room. I'm going to grab that, and let's just see what happens. So in an Ubers League, I'm thinking that Trick Room will be a little bit more tricky to pull off because in regular draft league you can just draft things like Mega Mawile and Hoopa and they break through. That's not so much the case in an Ubers League. I mean, yes, they still do really well, but they don't like just have the inherent power. Like Mega Mawile isn't just OHKOing everything because there is stuff that can take hits. But regardless, I am going to go for the Trick Room option, and that was ultimately what I was going to base my first pick around. Now, my first pick, I ended up having, it's like a 24-person draft, and I had the 22nd pick out of 24. So basically all the good Ubers I just didn't get a chance to grab, and I don't know what Panther loves so much about 24-person drafts, but basically it was pretty slim pickings. Had my heart set on Groudon, and I had a little bit of hope because it did go undrafted in the GBA, but unfortunately people in this draft knew what they were doing. Groudon was not there. Lunala was another thing that I wanted. That was not there. And so I was just like, okay, well, let's just see what happens. And ultimately, I did end up grabbing a Trick Room Mon. I wanted a Trick Room Mon or an Abuser of Trick Room. And the first Mon that got to me was a Mon that could set up Trick Room, but also potentially take advantage of that in addition to being a rocker. And I knew I wanted Mega Mawile second round, so I was kind of looking for a good Dragon, because I mean a lot of Ubers are either Psychic or Dragon. So I was able to get a good Trick Rooming Dragon that can abuse it in Dialga. Now, Dialga admittedly was not, or Dialga, I'm probably going to go back and forth between the two, but Dialga was not my first, like, it was not the Mon that I wanted the absolute most. I mean, I obviously was thinking Groudon and Lunala, but both of those went as early as they should. I mean, they got drafted before they got to me. I was just kind of hoping that maybe one of them would fall, but unfortunately they did not, so I did end up grabbing Dialga, and honestly, I'm not too bummed about it because it is a very, very good Mon. It is a Dragon Steel, which is absolutely nuts typing. I love, love, love that typing. Dialga is one of my favorite Pokemon, not just competitively, but in general, and I've never gotten to use it in an Ubers League. I feel like, well, actually, I've never just done an Ubers League in general, but I've never gotten to use it before. I feel like it has a ton of versatility that I can take advantage of, so I'm very, very excited to use it. It can set up Trick Room. It is very bulky. It can also set up rocks, so yeah, I mean, I'm able to get a very solid Uber that is also very cheap. Like 23 points for a Mon of Dialga's caliber is a little bit cheaper than it could be. I mean, granted, I think 25 would be a little bit too much comparatively, but I still think 23 points for a Dialga is something that I'm very readily, like, I will take any day of the week. So very happy with the Mon that I was able to get. And then with my round 2 pick, I knew that this was going to be a Mon that I was going to draft around because you can't have a Trick Room team without this Mon. And it completes my Dragon Steel Fairy Core right off the bat. I grabbed Mega Mawile. Now, Mega Mawile was a Mon that obviously I had a ton of fun using in BNR and was really looking forward to get to use again. In CPC, obviously, I had the chance to draft Coco, and one does not simply not draft Coco. So Mega Mawile, unfortunately, I did not draft that there, but considering I knew I wanted Trick Room from the very start, I knew that my first round pick was going to be an Uber, second round pick was going to be Mawile, and considering I was pretty close to the wheel, I was able to snag Mawile right off the bat. So Mawile, what more can I say about it? It is so bulky, has an insane move pool. Well, an insane support move pool, actually, compared to what it can even... Actually, not that insane. I mean, it has, like, Stealth Rock knockoff, but, I mean, it has a couple other options that I could get into, but I'd rather not spoil those, as I do have those in the back of my mind. But basically, Mawile has a lot more options than you give it credit for. It hits insanely hard, especially under Trick Room. And basically, with Dialga and Mega Mawile, I have 2 rockers right off the bat. I've completed my Dragon Steel Fairy Core immediately with 2 Mons that are incredible for their typing. I have a Trick Room setter and 2 abusers on both sides of the spectrum. So my team, while admittedly dying to every single ground attack ever, I will patch that up later, looks really, really good to start off. And so obviously I need to address the ground weakness that both Dialga and Mega Mawile have, because right now my main 2 Mons, the 2 Mons that I am centering my team around, are both incredibly weak to ground types. Like, both of them will fall over. Groudon just absolutely sweeps me. So I have to come up with something in order to take advantage of that, in order to prevent my opponent from being able to just spam ground attacks. And also I'm noticing that, yes, I'm only 2 Mons in, but with the draft plan that I'm kind of going for and the Mons that I'm looking at, I don't have that many defog options. Like, I need to get a good defog option just because my draft plan doesn't inherently have defog. So I want to have a good Mon that, should I need to bring defog, it is super easy to slap on there, and that Mon is really, really reliable. And so this is a Mon that I've been wanting to try for a little while, but just have not gotten the opportunity to. And even though round 3 in an Uber's draft might seem like a little bit of a stretch, what it provides my team is incredibly invaluable, to where I just could not afford to pass it up, and that is going to be Rotom Wash. Now, like I said, Rotom's a Mon that I've been wanting to try for a little while. Like, it's a very bulky, it's a water type, and yes, my water types are usually Swampert. Actually, my water type is usually Swampert, but this time, Rotom was something that I could not pass up because it checked 3 very, very big boxes for me. It checked a ground immunity, it checked a defogger, and it checked a momentum gainer, because momentum with Trick Room is incredibly important as well, and both of my main Mons do not have that. So Rotom is the definition of a phenomenal pivot, and if there was one thing I learned in the BNR, it's that Trick Room functions best when you have really good and reliable pivots. Rotom is the definition of that. Also gives me things like Will-O-Wisp, Toxic support, just a good bulky Mon in general. It can check Groudon. I do have to be careful of Solar Beam. Jolt teched that, I believe. Who was that for? Was that like Aster or something? But either way, Jolt teched a Solar Beam Groudon, so I am aware of that. But either way, Rotom is a Mon that was just, it offered way too much to this team to pass up, and I especially wanted to get a ground immunity just because the next Mon that I'm looking at also is ground weak, so it was kind of a, okay, yeah, I need to grab this early, and I need to get a very good one, and I am very satisfied with the Rotom pick. Now, the next one, I'm looking for more breakers. I want another Trick Room setter, I want another breaker, I want something to pair with Mega Mawile, and the Mon that I picked was part of the devastating Trick Room core that I had in the BNR, and that is Victini. Now, you guys know what Victini does. V-Create, just obliterate stuff. Combine that with the momentum that you can get from U-Turn and Trick Room, like V-Create, Trick Room, U-Turn, I was sold on Victini. This also gives me a speed tier that I had not filled yet, so that was pretty nice as well. But just basically, I wanted to top load my team with breakers. I wanted to get 3 really, really good breakers and then use the rest of my team to support them. And with the first 4 picks, I feel like I have a really, really solid core for a Trick Room team. Off the bat, I have 2 rockers. I have 2 very good rockers. I have 2 Trick Room setters. I have 2 momentum mons. I have a ground immunity for my 3 ground weeks, albeit I'll try to patch that up a little bit later. But yeah, 2 rockers, reliable defog, 2 momentum, 2 Trick Room, 3 breakers. I am looking really, really good for what I want this team to be moving forward. But now, considering that I now have 3 ground weeks, and I do have the Rotom, who is also 1,000 Arrows week, I need to address that in one way or another. Just basically, I need to get a good grass type. I wanted Tangrowth because Tangrowth is a mon that I have experience using. I have a ton of good experience using it. I'm not trying to say like I was really good using it. I'm just saying like I had a good experience when I did use it, so I really liked that mon. But unfortunately, it got sniped, and that hurt because that would have been absolutely perfect as a pivot, knockoff support, Leech Seed support. So I was like, okay, how am I going to replace what Tangrowth brings to the team? And I was looking at 2 options. One of them was Superior. It was 14 points, and I was like, you know what? Superior fills a good speed stat, gives me another defogger, gives me spammable Leaf Storm, but unfortunately, it just didn't quite have the bulk I was wanting. Just basically having to rely on like not being much of a threat. With Leaf Storm, you didn't have as much bulk as the mon that I ended up getting, and also the big thing that the mon that I ended up getting have, actually, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and say what it is and then talk about why I picked this mon over Superior. I ended up going with Shaman. Now, yes, I know I went back-to-back base 100. I believe they're the Pixies? Yeah, they're the Pixies. I think they're the Pixies, and then the Azelf Uxie Mesprit is the Lake Trio or something like that. But yeah, I went with the back-to-back base 100 all-arounds just because Shaman has a little bit more bulk than Superior. It has access to Healing Wish, which was the big selling point of Shaman over Superior, and also this gave me 2 extra points to work with that I can hopefully use for something good later in the draft. But yeah, I ultimately went with Shaman because even though I don't have defog, I still have a good, reliable defogger in Rotom, so I'm not as worried, and Shaman gives me that Healing Wish support that is so nice for allowing Victini, Mawile, or Dialga to take a huge hit while either setting up Trick Room or killing one of its counters or checks, because let's be real, those things don't really have counters. But yeah, taking huge damage to kill one of its checks, Shaman with Healing Wish can just go ahead and bring it right back up. But speaking of bringing things back up from full health, I was noticing that I was missing some speed. I had nothing over base 100. I had 2 base 100s. I did not have... I mean, I had 2 momentum users, but really wasn't like they aren't... I mean, I don't want to rely on Rotom and Victini for momentum all the time, and also I'm starting to try to build up the support, try to build up the bulk that I can use as pivots, and this mon was a mon that was insanely cheap for what I'm able to use it for in this league thanks to the rules. So even though it is round 6 of an Ubers league, I snagged this mon as soon as I could because it's super cheap. Love using it, and I really think it can benefit this team a ton, and that is Alolan Persian. Now, I also used Alolan Persian in BNR, and you might notice that a lot of these mons are overlapping from the team that I had in BNR. That's because I felt like that was a really, really good, or a really, really well-built Trick Room team. Shoutouts to Jolt on that one. And Persian, I really liked what it offered, and also the fact that it is a Dark type in a Psychic-dominated Ubers metagame can be really, really nice. Although, to be fair, those mons are super bulky. Still, Persian has the potential with Fur Coat to be, not necessarily beat them 1v1, but to annoy them at the very least. And then Z Parting Shot with the Z rules. Obviously, I will be able to make Persian Z Parting Shot. Had I not been able to do that, I would not have prioritized it the way I did. But I was able to grab Persian. Gives me Parting Shot, Knockoff, Taunt, like all of that. Just gives me a very good mon that I love using. And next up, I was kind of trying to round out my team. I was like, okay, I have 3 really good breakers. I have decent speed in Alolan Persian, and spoilers, Alolan Persian is going to be the fastest mon on my team. But I was kind of looking at filling out the speed tiers. I definitely wanted a good grounded poison to where my opponent could not spam T-Spikes against me, because T-Spikes are hugely detrimental, even though Mawile and Dialga are immune. Victini, Shaman, Persian, and other mons that I'm looking to draft would be heavily crippled by Toxic Spikes. So I wanted a grounded poison. I also wanted something that was fast enough in itself to not have to have Trick Room in order to function and to be a threat to my opponent. And once again, this is a mon that I've used before and I really love using, so when I was able to grab it, I jumped at the chance, and that is Gengar. Now, Gengar, like I said, is a mon that, with base 110 speed, it isn't a speed demon, but it is fast enough to where it forces your opponent to not just be able to try to counter prep for Trick Room. If they ignore Gengar, they ignore that at their own peril, and Gengar can potentially break them really, really hard. Like, Gengar hits insanely hard, and with the amount of sets that it's able to run the variations, your opponent has to respect the Gengar, otherwise they're going to be in a world of hurt. So, I mean, it's just a very straightforward pick. Needed a poison, needed a base 110 speed tier, needed something that could function outside of Trick Room, so Gengar was a no-brainer in that spot. Now, next up, I grabbed this mon. I knew that I was going to grab it from the beginning, but ultimately I grabbed it now because I didn't want somebody else to grab it, because it was so important to the team and important to the strategy that I just grabbed it as soon as I could, and that mon, of course, is going to be Porygon 2. So Porygon 2 is the ultimate Trick Room mon, just super bulky, sets it up. I mean, able to go offensive, able to take basically any hit you want. I mean, to be fair, it's not going to be taking Marshallow's hits, but who is? But yeah, Porygon 2, just super, super bulky. It's an incredible Trick Room mon. It's super reliable to get Trick Room up. It has different sets that it can run. It can go offensive, defensive, just, it's the ultimate Trick Room mon, like I said. So, I mean, it was just kind of a no-brainer that I had to grab that. I had to prioritize it when I did, and yeah, very happy that it fell to me. I snagged that right off the board. Now, I'm coming to the end of the draft, and I'm thinking, okay, well, I have a good amount of points. You don't have the total amount of points that I had left, but I had a good chunk of change. I believe I had, like, what was it? It was like 36 points to work with for 4 potential mon slots. And so I was like, okay, well, let's see what happens. I want something else that's off the ground, because even though I have Rotom and I have Shaman, I want something else just in case those mons aren't necessarily able to be brought to a specific matchup. So I wanted another mon that was off the ground. I was looking at one of the levitating psychics who could also set up Trick Room. Like, that was Uxie, Mesprit, Bronzong, and Cresselia were the 4 bulky psychics that I had my eyes on. And then I was looking to fill my draft out, however, based on whatever mon fell to me. Now, as it was coming up to my turn, in the exact round, Cresselia got sniped, Uxie got sniped, Bronzong got sniped. Actually, I don't know if Cresselia did, but either way, Uxie got sniped, Bronzong got sniped, and so I was like, oh crap, Mesprit's gonna get sniped, I'm gonna get stuck with Cresselia, and that really screws up what I was going for at the end of my draft. But luckily, for somehow, this mon fell to me, and that is, I just already spoiled it, so I don't even know why I'm like trying to do any sort of drummel. I got Mesprit. So yeah, Mesprit, as you can see, is the same price as Alolan Persian, and this thing gives me another Trick Room setter. So now I have 4 good Trick Room setters. Mesprit gives me more momentum, so I now have 3 momentum mons. Gives me another rocker, so I have 3 good rockers. I mean, like, you might say, well, Dialga and Mawile aren't that great of rockers because you want them to attack. Actually, they're a lot better rockers than people might give them credit for. Mesprit also gives me more Healing Wish, so now I have triple recovery in Healing Wish from Shaman and Mesprit, and then Z Parting Shot from Persian. So I have a lot of just, yeah, okay, you wore down this mon, but hello, it's coming all the way back. So yeah, I'm really glad that Persian, but that Mesprit fell to me, because now I have 2 ground immunes, and I have a Shaman as well, so just Mold Breaker Drill can't just run through me. So yeah, I'm very happy with the 9 that I have, but rounding out this draft, I still have 30 points to work with, and you'll see what I'm doing. This next mon was a mon that was inspired by the one and only Maddie Brawlick. I had 3 points to work with because I wanted to save 27 for something a little bit bigger, because we were able to draft 2 Ubers mons that had a combination of 50 points. And so I was like, okay, well, I'll spend 3 points on my next 2 picks and see what happens. And this mon at 2 points I felt was criminally underrated, and the inspiration comes from Maddie Brawlick. I grabbed the one and only Time for Crab, Crabominable. Now, Crabominable is not a Mon that I'm going to be bringing all the time. In fact, it's probably not even going to be a Mon that I bring a minority of the time. It'll be a Mon that maybe comes to 1 or 2 games where it has an absolutely insane matchup, but considering this thing was the same price as the likes of, like, Corefish, I was thinking, okay, I'm running a Trick Room team anyway. It's time for Crab. Let's grab some Crabominable because Ice and Fighting Stab is absolutely incredible, especially against Ubers that are like Dragon and Dark type. Like, Crabominable is really, really good, and I can actually see it being able to tear apart some teams with the right support. So yeah, I mean, even though Crabominable is 2 points and it's probably not going to come a whole lot, it's still a huge threat because my team is so heavily Trick Room based. Next up, I was looking at the 1-point Mons. Like, honestly, I wasn't looking to fill any particular roles, but I was looking at them, and I was like, okay, what's the best 1-point Mon? Not looking to fill any roles on the team, just looking to grab the best 1-point Mon. And it actually came up that there was a decent Mon, so I just went ahead and snagged it, and that is Roselia. Now, Roselia, I say it Roselia, is actually pretty solid for my team because I don't have Toxic Spikes until Roselia, which is something that I normally love. Gengar, as much as I love it, is a grounded poison that does not give Toxic Spikes. Roselia, I can't even decide what I want to say it. Roselia gives me Toxic Spikes, it gives me a Spikes option, it gives me just a bulky Mon that I can potentially bring, and is like something that can actually be an annoyance. So yeah, like Crab, it's not going to come to very many games, or maybe even any games at all, but it's still just like a nice niche. It's like, hey, got it for 1 point, who knows, it maybe can come in handy in one single game. Now finally, the end of the draft is here, my very last pick. I have 27 points left, and the way this draft is set up, in terms of the Ubers at least, is you're able to draft 2 Ubers that have a combined 50 points or less. So at this point, everybody that's grabbed Ubers has grabbed Ubers. In fact, there is a couple left, but nobody can grab the one that I was looking like. It was physically impossible for anybody else in the league to grab the Uber that I was kind of looking at. And so it was kind of a, well, at like, I think it was around the Gengar pick, I started to realize that this Mon was still there, and a very real and very free pick for me to where I didn't have to prioritize it at all. And quite frankly, I was flabbergasted that this Mon was not picked up earlier, because as soon as I saw that it was there, I was like, okay, changing my draft plan, I've got to grab this thing. Like, if this thing is available, there was just no reason for me not to grab it, as it's an incredible, incredible Mon. Also, you might have noticed I don't have a ground type. It's given me a ground type, and I'm very, very excited to use it because in its baby form, it's also a Mon that I love using in the draft format. By now, you probably figured out what it is. With my very last pick, I am picking the Megazord itself, Father Zygarde. Now, this Mon, like I said, I was shocked that nobody else picked it up. I was like, geez, this thing is so good. Like, Zygarde 50, okay, to be fair, it's not an Uber all the time. Like, you need to get it below 50% for it to become an Uber, but once it gets below there, Zygarde 50 is incredibly bulky. Like, that thing takes hits for days, like minimal investment. That thing does not get O-code by like anything. This thing is so incredibly bulky, has great support moves, has 1,000 arrows. I mean, 1,000 arrows is phenomenal. So that's one less 1,000 arrows Mon that I have to worry about. But yeah, like, this Mon fell to me. I already had great regeneration with Mesprit, Shaman, and Persian. So even the fact that I had to get below 50 in order to get Father Form wasn't that big of a deal. Because, like, okay, Zygarde comes in, takes a hit, gets Father Form. I can just use Persian, Mesprit, or Shaman to bring that thing all the way back up, and now you have to deal with a full health Father. There's also the Rest Talk set that, admittedly, not a huge fan of because of how unreliable it is, but it is an option as well. And yeah, being able to get Father Zygarde at the very end of the draft was something that I was super shocked about, and I really think pushes my team over the edge in terms of a good draft into a really, really strong draft. Like, this might be my favorite draft that I've ever had. I think this is in a very strong, has great synergy. Yes, it is slow with the Alolan Persian being the fastest Mon, but I mean, it's got options. It has options. It has great support. It has great synergy, and I am really, really excited to use it. So yeah, hope you guys will join me on this journey. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And this is Styx signing out. Why not? Oh, wait. Sorry. Also, I forgot. The Zemons are Victini, Persian, and Gengar because we could have one under 20, one 20 and under, 115 and under, and 110 and under. So, I mean, like, Persian was a no-brainer, and then the other two that made the most sense were Victini and Gengar. So, I mean, kind of a moot point as you already figured it out by now. But yeah, that is the draft. Hope you guys will join me for this journey, and hope you enjoyed the draft recap. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And this is Styx signing out for real this time. Why not? See you guys.